Peace and blessings, people. Welcome back to the channel. Or for those, this is your first time being on the channel, welcome. Make sure you hit that subscribe button at the bottom. Let me know what kind of content you want coming forward. Everything we do is about giving you a more holistic and natural approach to not only healing, but to health in general. And today we're going to be talking about allergies, specifically seasonal allergies. Why are so many people having so many different allergies today? Now we're going to be talking about seasonal allergies today, but this also applies to a lot of food allergies as well too. Food allergies that you weren't born with, but you develop over time. This is a huge part of that conversation too. So we're going to jump into that. We're going to talk about why so many people are having these symptoms during the springtime of the year, okay? Because we're about to transition from the winter to the spring. So why do people have it so crazy during the spring? We're going to talk about that, okay? We're also going to talk about how histamine plays a huge role in it. Now, I know you're familiar with taking an antihistamine, but I'm going to tell you how histamine plays a huge role in it and how some of the foods we're eating are causing that. And then I'm also going to talk about a lot of other really cool sort of techniques and solutions that you can take to help you with seasonal allergies. So this may not be for you. You may not have that problem, but you may know somebody who does. So let's get into it. What are allergies and what's causing it to go crazy during the springtime? Well, our allergies are going crazy because it's our body's reaction, specifically our immune system, overreaction to a foreign invader. Okay, so anytime the immune system sees something as foreign, it's going to react to it. And if it sees it as foreign and it sees it as a danger, it will overreact to it and we will have signs and symptoms that we call allergies. Okay, take for instance, if the body comes into contact with a virus, the immune system responds. It comes into contact with a bacteria, a fungus, it responds. Well, it's the same thing with pollen. But the interesting thing about pollen is an overreaction of the immune system is unnatural, okay? Especially when something that is coming into contact with is natural, okay? Take for instance, food. It may be food that we ate all of our lives and then all of a sudden we have an allergy to it. So that's an unnatural reaction to something that's natural. Or pollen. Pollen has always existed, okay? We develop as humans around plants, okay? Around nature. So why are we overreacting to it? That's what we're going to get into. Well, the overreaction is caused by the immune system, specifically the white blood cells that have mast cells. And these mast cells, when they come into contact with a lot of foreign invaders, we'll call it pollen in this case, these mast cells break open and release histamine. Okay, and histamine is what's triggering a lot of the signs and symptoms of allergies. So let's talk about some of those signs and symptoms that histamine or increases in histamine can cause in the body. Itchy, watery eyes, itchy, runny nose, sneezing, rash, hives, sun sensitivity. Think about that, sun sensitivity. As histamine goes up into the body, it makes you sensitive to the sun. And how many of us have heard people, I've even heard doctors say, hey, you may be allergic to the sun. You're not allergic to the sun, okay? Now, if you're taking a medication, you could possibly get sun sensitive, but it's not natural for human beings to be actually allergic to the sun, okay? What happens is, as histamine levels go up, it could make the body sensitive to the sun, okay? That's really important because a lot of people don't talk about that. Also, swelling, okay? Redness, inflamed sinuses, also wheezing, coughing, a postnasal drip, or an increase in cortisol in the body. And we know cortisol is a stress hormone. So literally, your body getting exposed to a lot of pollen or, foreign invaders causes stress to the body as well, too. So increases in histamine can increase cortisol, okay? Now, here's the holistic approach I want you to think about it, or perspective. The immune system is actually trying to help. I mean, it looks crazy and it feels uncomfortable, but when you get inflammation in the sinuses or increased mucus production, which is a runny nose, etc., watery, itchy eyes, itchy skin, things of that nature, a cough, all of these things are the body's way of actually helping with the allergies or the pollen. And let me explain how that works. So as As spring comes, the pollen count goes up. You get exposed when you go outside. I mean, it's going into your eyes. I mean, it's all over your car when you walk out. So of course, it's all over you. You just can't see it. It's in your eyes. It's going, you're breathing it in through your nose. You're breathing it in through your mouth. It's on your skin. Okay. And everywhere it hits, the body is now, or the immune system is now saying, I got to shut the body down a little bit to get less of this coming in. So the sinuses get tighter because they're inflamed. You start to have a runny nose, okay? That mucus is actually catching some of the pollen that is coming in, okay? You start to have a cough, so because you breathe in some of the pollen as well, so you cough it out, okay? The skin gets tight and itchy, okay? All of these things are really a natural, sort of a response to the body to get it not coming in as much, okay? So let's talk about some of the additional triggers that aren't just pollen. Because in my opinion, pollen is natural. It's supposed to be around. I mean, obviously so many people around us don't have allergies. So when you have it, it's more of an anomaly than something that is actually normal. So what's happening is the actual pollen is normal, but what happens is you're getting increases in histamines for so many other areas. So let's talk about some other triggers. Other triggers could be other airborne allergens other than pollen. It could be animal dander. A lot of people have cats and dogs and other animals in their house, so that dander could be triggering you, increasing histamine. Dust mites. Springtime is also the time we do spring cleaning, so we're cleaning up a lot of dust, getting rid of a lot of old clothes. Mold. A lot of people have mold in their homes and they have no idea that they do. And this causes a lot of issues, especially with kids who have asthma and have food allergies and things of that nature, because the mold, you can't see it. It's small microparticles of spores. Okay, so mold is also a big issue, but there's also a lot of foods that are high in histamine. So they increase histamine in the body too. So you got foods like peanuts. So we know that peanuts are actually highly allergenic, okay? A lot of people with peanut allergies, they literally have peanuts. I was on a plane the other day and somebody got on with a peanut allergy and the flight attendant came over the intercom and said, hey, if you have peanuts, please don't eat them because even them going through the air could cause somebody to have a reaction. So peanuts are highly allergenic because of the histamines as well too. Tree nuts, also wheat, soy, fish and shellfish. Very high in histamines, and people love seafood, okay? But seafood is very high in histamines as well. Dairy and eggs as well, high in histamines, okay? They trigger the body, okay? So these are things that could be actually adding to the pollen level, okay? So without these things, you will probably be fine with the pollen. But you add these things on top of it, most people eat dairy, most people eat eggs, and so it makes sense to throw these things out of your diet, okay? Also, insect bites. When you get bit like by mosquitoes and things of that nature, that can increase histamine. Alcohol, because alcohol goes through a fermentation process, and that fermentation process increases histamine. Leftovers. If you love leftovers, the breaking down, your food is breaking down in the refrigerator. Eating leftovers can increase histamine. Caffeine, chocolate. These are all things that can increase histamine in the body, okay? Now, here's the thing. Histamine actually has some positives to it, okay? Histamine is also involved in our sleep-wake cycle, okay? So as long as your histamine levels are balanced, it'll help with sleep. It'll help you stay asleep and get good sleep. But as soon as it becomes unbalanced or too low, it could actually cause you to be sleepy. Now, we see this actually when you take an antihistamine like Zyrtec or Allegra. That's one of the side effects of taking those antihistamine drugs, is that it will cause you to get sleepy, okay? So let's now talk about some signs and symptoms that you are now becoming intolerant to histamine. And what I mean by that is your histamine levels are so high all the time because you're eating all of these foods. Maybe you're consuming alcohol, you're eating eggs and dairy, you're eating a lot of chocolate, you got mold in the home, you got a cat or a dog in the home, you got dust in the home. Okay, so now your body is like, I could tolerate this much beforehand, but now I can only tolerate this much. Okay, so that means now you're histamine intolerant. Your tolerance level has gone down. you will have a reaction to a plethora of foods. You will notice that there are foods that you used to eat in the past that you no longer can eat now. Okay. You'll also notice that a lot of food allergies start to arise, we used to treat this. It's so funny. Some people who would have like these really bad food allergies, we used to treat it with a drug called cromolyn sodium, which is essentially like an antihistamine that we used to use for asthma. Okay, so that tells us that it's probably a histamine issue. You also see people who have histamine intolerance issues have sinus congestion all the time. I mean, even during the summertime, they still got sinus congestion because the histamine levels are always high. You'll see these people always are chronically fatigued, tired all the time, headaches and migraines. So if you're out there and you're suffering from a lot of headaches and migraines all the time, it could be because of your histamine levels. Okay, again, you got to get rid of a lot of those foods that I talked about. We call that allergic brain. Okay, so when you're instead of having allergies in the sinus, now you got allergies in the brain where you're having a headache and a migraine. You'll see these people also have menstrual cycle issues. Okay, nausea and vomiting. Okay, they may have even some balance issues as well, and swelling and fluid retention. Okay, because it causes an imbalance as well. So let's talk about what affects histamine. Also, what other things can actually cause histamine levels to be high as well that you probably haven't thought about. Okay, EMF. So like the electromagnetic frequency that's coming from this phone, coming from a television, coming from our computers, can cause mast cells to actually release and break open. Okay, so, not keeping your phone on your person, decreasing your laptop time or, your television time, removing the router from your room, okay, or even shutting it off at night could be helpful too. And as I mentioned before, meat in general is high in histamine. Meat has a amino acid called histidine that can be converted or broken down into histamine. Okay, so eating a lot of meat, okay, which is why I recommend a plant-based lifestyle. Okay, I mentioned the foods that are high in histamine as well. A lot of them are what people would consider health foods too, like kombucha. You got to remember, kombucha is actually a fermentation process, increases histamine. Also dried fruits, so you may want to stay away from those as well. Smoked meats, processed meats. Also gut dysbiosis. When you have gut issues or you don't have enough healthy good bacteria in the gut, that definitely can affect your histamine levels. Leaky gut. So I mentioned this in previous video, and I really need to do a video just on leaky gut, but your gut is like this. So it's kind of like really collapsed, and it only lets vital nutrients through. So not full food, okay? It only lets vitamins, minerals, trace elements, amino acids, glucose, things of that nature. It lets things that are going out into the blood. But when you start to get a leaky gut, now that gut goes from this to now it's leaky. It has holes in it. Now things are leaky. So let's say a microparticle of, avocado, crosses the blood barrier. The immune system is sitting right outside of the gut because that's where it knows, how we introduce things to the body. Okay, we eat. That's primarily how we put things outside in the body. So as soon as the immune system is sitting outside, sees that piece of, avocado or whatever it may be, a piece of fruit coming across in a food particle instead of just the nutrients that are in that food particle, the immune system will shoot it, put a tag on it. And as a result, now that tag will say, essentially, it will create antibodies and lead to a food allergy. Okay, so gut dysbiosis and leaky gut can definitely lead to that as well. Okay, and let me talk a little bit about, because most people's solution to allergies is to take either over-the-counter or prescription antihistamines. But a few of those side effects are going to include things like drowsiness. As I said before, histamine is involved in the sleep-wake cycle. Antihistamines also can increase high blood pressure and also increase the heart rate. Okay, a lot of people don't know that. And it also can dry out your mucous membranes. Okay, remember, you need a certain level of mucus to coat your sinuses, otherwise they dry out and they start to bleed. Okay, same thing in your gut. You have a mucous membrane in your gut. It's important to capture things. It's important to be a lubricating layer there. And when you take an antihistamine, it's going to dry all your mucous membranes. Okay, it may stop the runny nose and the eyes, but then it dries them out too. Now you got dry eyes and you got a dry nose, and you'll get a nosebleed. Okay, so let's talk about some natural solutions, and then we're gonna wrap this up. Okay, one of the natural solutions that I've seen work pretty good for people is a shrub or a plant called butter burr. Okay, butter burr is this big leaf that you literally used to wrap things up in. So you can wrap up some spices or herbs, or particularly they used to wrap up butter inside of this leaf, okay, during the winter, okay, to keep it sort of stored. And so that's why they call it butter burr, okay, winter butter. So butter burr is a good supplement to take. In a European study, they found that it was just as effective as Zyrtec and Allegra, okay? In a European study. Another thing is eliminate all these foods that I just talked about. I talked about the peanuts, the tree nuts, wheat, soy, especially fish and shellfish, dairy, eggs, meat, high in histidine, which could lead to the breakdown and become of histamine. So getting rid of processed foods, things of that nature, fermented beverages like alcohol and kombucha. So elimination, okay? You gotta eliminate and then slowly add back the things like maybe you do like nuts. You can add those back and see if that works. And if your allergies go crazy, then you know that's not for you, okay? But elimination is very key. None of these suggestions will work if you're still putting these things in your body. And that's what people forget to tell those who are suffering from allergies, okay? Don't eat leftovers. Okay, I would refrain from eating leftovers because, as I say, as the food begins to break down, it's creating histamine. Okay, fasting, specifically intermittent fasting, giving your gut an opportunity to rest, gives your gut an opportunity to heal. Okay, remember we talked a little bit about that leaky gut. Well, one of the key things that can heal the gut is actually giving it rest. I talk about this in my book, Vegetation Over Medication. I have an entire chapter dedicated to digestive rest and the importance of it in the healing process, because most of our healing actually comes through our gut, begins and ends with our gut. Also, vitamin D levels. 70% of the population, especially our Black and brown sisters and brothers, have a vitamin D deficiency. I've met people who had a vitamin D level of 8. It needs to be above 50, not above 25. So they say therapeutic is 25, and they say, super therapeutic is above 50. Well, if you look at lifeguards, they can have vitamin D levels close to 100, okay? Because they're getting so much sunlight, okay? That's really, our vitamin D levels should be between a 50 and 100 because we're made to be outside. Again, we develop as human beings being outside, working outside, not being inside. But vitamin D helps to regulate T regulatory cells, which regulates the immune system. It's like a joystick for the immune system, vitamin D is. And vitamin D is a hormone, not an actual vitamin. We'll get into that again in another episode. Check the pollen levels before you go out. In the meantime, while you're in the healing phase, check the pollen levels. And when you go out, close the windows on your cars when you're driving, shower more often. Put air filters in your home, change the air filter as well too. Also nasal irrigation. So you can get these saline nasal irrigation devices that'll clean out your sinuses as well too. So those are very helpful. Nettle root, stinging nettle. Stinging nettle is very good because it's anti-inflammatory. And remember what I said, the immune system is causing your body to become inflamed, okay? As an attempt to help with something you actually really don't need help with, okay? And then also a supplement over the counter could be NAC. NAC, it helps to thin the mucus, okay? And it decreases congestion. And then other supplements could be quercetin. And a lot of people take between 400 and 600 milligrams. But what I truly recommend is adopting more of an alkaline diet. Start to detox, because detoxification can heal the gut. You can get all the waste out of the gut. Most people have between 10 and 25 pounds of undigested fecal matter rotting and fermenting in their gut. If something is rotting and fermenting, meaning you got waste in your gut that was supposed to go out. Most people eat 3 meals a day, but they don't have 3 bowel movements, okay? So a lot of that waste is left behind and it accumulates. This is why I'm saying, but people have between 10 and 25 pounds of undigested fecal matter sitting in their gut, rotting and fermenting. The fermentation process creates more histamine in the body, okay? So detoxification is a major key. And for those who have done my detox, you can kind of tap in the comments and let people know how slim your waist got, how healthier your digestion got, how it improved your skin, how it improved your sinuses, things of that nature. So tap in below if you experienced that. And so those are just a few of the things I think will work really good for you. Start with that. Remember, nothing works unless you do. So do not do any of these things if you're not willing to eliminate a lot of the primary issues, which is the food, possibly, putting the dog or cat in a specific room in the house, and definitely not letting them sleep on your bed, things of that nature. But I think these things will be a major key for you to help you in your allergy journey, or help somebody you know and love in their allergy journey as well too. Get a little sip of green juice here. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. I hope this is giving you more of a holistic and natural approach to your allergies and a deeper understanding why people's allergies are going crazy during the springtime. Again, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the subscribe button below, share this content, because this is a grassroots effort to educate the people. Until the next time, peace and blessings and Godspeed.